And as London slowly starts to recover from deadly attacks, we hear from a teenage boy with ties to New Hampshire who saw the carnage firsthand. It is from London now, where more than 24 hours after 4 blasts rocked the morning commute, things are slowly getting back to normal. Today, roads were open to traffic and buses got back on schedule, but parts of the underground rail system where 3 bombs went off remain closed as crews continue to pull bodies from the wreckage. Tonight, the death toll stands at 49, but is expected to rise. Today, in Washington, President Bush laid a wreath at the British Embassy to express the nation's sympathy for the victims of the bombing. Earlier, Mr. Bush signed a condolence book saying that the British people are steadfast and strong, and said Americans have long admired their great spirit. As for the investigation into who may have coordinated the blast, officials today said the bombs weighed less than 10 pounds each, small enough to be carried in a backpack. They were left on the floor of the underground trains in either a seat or on the floor of the bus. Experts say the attacks had all the hallmarks of an al-Qaeda strike. Fresh flowers and cards have been placed at the British Embassy in Washington and at blast sites where dozens were killed in London. At the same time, graphic stories from survivors are pouring in. One teenager whose grandparents live in Rochester, New Hampshire, was in London on the very first train that was hit. WMUR's Kriya Sakakini spoke to the teen today and joins us now live with his story. Kriya?
Tom, in just one day, Stephen Boyle went from 16 years old to 60. On Thursday morning, he was heading to his internship and says seeing people struggle for life in front of his eyes has made him appreciate life now more than ever.
No matter how vivid the images, watching a tragedy like this from our living rooms can never compare to what 16-year-old Steve Boyle experienced on his train ride from Aldgate Station.
It was like a piercing scream is what it sounded like. And it sounded like a building was crashing down because glass and debris came flying through.
Boyle had no idea what felt like a crash was really part of an elaborate terrorist attack, and that moments later, hundreds of other commuters would also witness victims struggling for help.
She was down right next to us, thrown from the train, soaked in blood. Maybe her legs caught under the train, made eye contact with me. It was one of the scariest moments of my life.
Video has now come in from camera phones of the journey passengers, including Boyle, took out of the underground.
You could see the people thrown from the train, the people huddling outside next to the train, soaked in blood.
Of the 700 injured, 4 of them were Americans.
Is it luck, chance, or fate that lands you where you are? But I landed in a particular car where I guess I was pretty lucky.
While some of his fellow students have chosen to come home, Boyle will stay in London for another month, get back on the trains, and join in the nation's resolve to stay strong.
Almost everything in London was back to normal today, and it's rapidly recovering. And just like New York rose from the ashes, London is doing the same.
Boyle said few he's spoken to have actually discussed the political motivations of the people responsible for the bombings. The focus is really just on recovery. At the same time, some Islamic leaders have condemned the attack, saying true Islam forbids the killing of innocents. Reporting live, Kriya Sakakini, WMUR News 9.